I'll do record. Okay.
Or
So,
you were telling me what your heart wanted you to know, and then what your takeaway was about.
well, right. So, I was at this class, right? I was at this class the other day, that last week in Ohio. It was about designing. It was about like creating what we wanted. Either what some people were launching businesses, some people were launching ideas, products, next chapters of their life. Like it was really all about just creating. But before we got to creation, they did a lot of work in preparing us to create. Um, and there were a couple of things that really kind of hit me. And you and I talked a little bit about it. One was the drumming thing, right? Remember you and I talked about the drumming thing.
Mhm.
Uh,
Right.
that was an interesting exercise where he had this gentleman, his name was Solomon. I wish I could remember Solomon's last name. I'll have to find it. But Solomon was he just was this coolest guy, the best energy I've ever seen. He just was this, like, he exuded it, you know what I mean? Smile, like just had this smile that lit up the room. And I didn't know who he was. He was sitting kind of next to my friend and I, next to Tara, Tara. He was sitting next to us and he was chatting with us for a minute. And I said, my God, you have like the best energy. Just did. Little did I know that night all came back from dinner. He was the person that led us in this exercise. And the exercise was a drum circle. Have you ever done a drum circle?
I have with a Native American woman that lives local. So it's an authentic drum circle around a fire,
Oh, wow.
and like the sage and all the passing the tobacco, and like sacred of like taking things up. You got to take up to the sky and the smoke, and a very ritualistic drum circle.
Okay. Well,
So I think it's different than what you've done,
this
than
was
what
not
you
that.
did.
Yeah, this was not that. This was a, we had these like cardboard boxes that we assembled together. They were called, I keep wanting to say cajone, but that means like, I know,
I
no,
don't
that's
think it was
not right.
maybe
I
not
know that's not
cojones.
right. I know that's not the right word. It was like cajon. I don't know. I'm going to say drum. I'm going to say cardboard drum. But it was this drum that you would assemble, right? It had a hole in the middle and you would sit on it and you would bang the side of the drum. And so we're all in this big circle. Solomon was in the middle and there's about 200 of us around and he would teach us certain rhythms. But there were a couple of things that really struck me and it didn't hit me in the moment, it hit me after the moment. And one of them was he was trying to show us like certain rhythms. And then he would do this fun thing where he would teach us, one of them was a mantra, how to follow a mantra, right? And one of them was peanut butter. And so he'd say, I'll see if I can do it. He'd say, peanut butter, peanut butter. Can you hear that? Peanut
Mhm.
butter. And then he would point to the other side and he would do white or wheat bread, white or wheat bread. And then he would try to make us, he'd say, what, like he'd point and go peanut butter, white or wheat bread. And we would try to do our own thing. And then he would throw in another rhythm and then we would all fall apart. And we would all get confused. Kind of like, remember when you were a kid and you would do like row, row, row your boat
Okay.
for that? And then then like another person would jump in and then you'd all screw up and you'd forget where you
Okay.
are because you would hear them. Remember that?
Right. Yep.
And so it was like that. And so he stopped and he said, "Why did you fall apart?" And he said when you're in a rhythmic, like in this situation, he said you fell apart. He said because two things happened. One of two things happened. Either you were so focused on on your drum, on what you were doing, that you could not hear the other party. You couldn't hear the other rhythm. You couldn't welcome the other side. Or you were so focused on hearing the other side, you couldn't hear your own beat. You
Wow.
couldn't hear your own rhythm. And I, I didn't, I was like, oh, that's funny because I struggled because I was listening to the other rhythm and I kept messing up on my own white or wheat bread, white or wheat bread. I kept messing up my rhythm because I would listen to peanut butter. And the next day,
So
it,
can I ask you a question?
yeah,
Because
yeah,
we had a conversation the other day about why you asked me, why can I help other people with their creations and I struggle with my own? So taking this to your drum circle and the lessons that maybe you learned from drumming, are you listening to other people's rhythm and that's making you not hear your own beat?
so I think that was it. That was the aha for me. And so the next day, which is what you and I chatted about, the next day we had to go into our creation. And the next day, first of all, what threw me for a complete friggin' loop, like like I was in my stuff the next day. We went through this beautiful exercise where we had a series of interviews, right? Where you would interview one another, and there were some really deep questions. I I could not find my own answers. I could not find my own answers, and I was so rocked. I was so rocked by that. I'm like, how is it that I'm 55 years old, I help people for a living, right? I'd like to think I'm good at it.
You are really good at it.
Right? Like, I like, that is my heart, my soul, my passion, and yet I'm sitting here with a blank piece of paper, and I cannot find my own frigging answers. How in the hell does that happen? I was rocked. And I thought to myself, "That's it. That's actually it. You spend your entire life listening to other people's rhythm,
Mhm.
and when do you stop to listen to your own? When do you stop to listen to your own story, your own self, your own needs?" And I wondered, then I was like, "Well, how many of us are struggling with that same thing?" Like, how many times do we all get stuck in that, where we are always, right, where we're thinking about our employees, we're thinking about our families, our kids, our what other people need from us, what our friends need, what our, right, all the places and spaces where we're needed, and we go there. It's always external. And I wondered, how many times are we losing our own rhythm? Do we not even hear it? And I'll tell you, I, for one, got that loud and clear this week.
I think you got that loud and clear again this morning when you called me because I don't see that side of you often
Mm.
where you say, "I'm overwhelmed, I'm spiraling." So, I guess I wanna know, like, do you have that person? Maybe you do and it's not me, and that's totally fine, but do you ever let your guard down enough to say, "I don't know my own answers," or do you feel like you always have to have your answers up and ready?
No, that's a good question. I do, and you're, well, you're certainly one of them. You are absolutely one of a handful of, probably, people that I would say that I would feel safe enough to do that. Um, no, I don't have it figured out. Oh my God, I'm a hot mess half the time, like everybody else, right? And I loved your comeback when you're like, "Oh my God, you're."
You're human.
I'm like, I am a hot mess express, right?
I I you're a human express. And today you expressed humanism like you haven't before, and I think it's because you're coming out of this last week that you were in where you've had these revelations of, I have to be so buttoned up. I have to help others. This is what I'm good at. I do all of these things, but you're pouring so much into others that your well is becoming dry and you can't hear your own beat. You can help other people create, but you're also are you also listening to other people's rhythms so much that it's clouding your own? Are you listening to the negative feedback
I
that you've
think so.
gotten once in 2 times in your entire life?
Yeah, for sure, for sure. But I think, and here's where it made me want to go, and that's why I think I wanted to have this conversation with you. is that, you and I talked about it, and we can't be the only people in the world this happens to. We can't be the only people in the world that, whether they realize it or not, is has lost the ability to hear their own drum, right? To hear their
Yeah.
own rhythm, to say, what is it that I want? What is it that I need? How do I tune in? And also, it's the balance, right? Here's what I learned about with the drum circle. Here was the aha for me. It really truly is the balance to live in harmony. It's not that I can only listen to myself, because then I can't hear the other side and I would mess the rhythm up again, but differently. So there has to be a balance of, I have to be here with me, but then I also have to be here with you. And I have to be present with you, and I have to be present with me. It can't be one or the other. It has to be an and. And I think that for me, it was the awareness of that it has to be both, and that they have to work together. And I just, for me, it was like I had to remind myself, and that made me want to remind whoever needs to be reminded, right? That if you're finding that you're always going external, that you're always solving, that you're always the one picking up the phone, not dialing the phone for help.
Could you also be the one that overbooks their calendar?
Oh, guilty girl, guilty as charged. Yes, this morning. I mean, you called me out. You found me today. And listen, you're right. I don't often get myself like on the mat. You got me today while I was like, I feel like I was on the mat, like in the boxing ring, and you like had the spit bucket today. That's what I felt like. I felt like you had the spit bucket and you were like, okay, girl, like rubbing my shoulders, making me spit and get back up. But there was one other thing I wanted to share with you that happened in that experience last week. That was another lesson, and that was the heart thing. Remember I told you about the heart?
Mhm.
Because it kind of leads to the drum circle, and kind of leads to what you might get, at least what I did anyway, when you allow yourself to listen to the drum. And you know that, and you and I have had many, many talks about this. You know that, I struggle, and like many do, with, what the hell do people think, and are people going to judge? And, when you put yourself out there in a vulnerable way like this, um, there's always a fear, right? Of like, what are people going to say? Or what are people going to think? Are they going to be like, what is she doing? And one of the exercises that we had to do was to have a conversation, as odd as it may sound to many of us, have a conversation with our heart. And so they put us into sort of just a little bit of a relaxation state, put our hand on our heart, ask our heart a question. And the question simply was this, and maybe this would be something that people might want to do on their own, where you just allow yourself to go quiet, put your hand on your heart, and just say, what does my heart want me to know? So I did that. And here's my actual journal. Here's what I wrote down. My heart wants me to know to not consider, the thoughts, opinions, and limitations of others as I discover what is for me. Their advice is from their heart, not my heart. And it includes their fears, their baggage, and their limitations. And I thought, wow. And you and I have talked about in the past that there have been a couple of times where I put myself out there in a really vulnerable way.
Mhm.
Um, and sometimes we have to be willing to get hurt. And sometimes the people that hurt us are the people closest to us, whether they realize it or not, whether it's a comment, a judgment, a roll of the eyes, what the hell is she doing, comment they make to people, that are in our life. And it's hurtful. And as I thought about that, I thought that's the equivalent of listening to the other drummer,
Yeah, that's right.
right? As much as if I continue to allow that to be the thing that gets in the way, that is just like me in that drum circle listening to peanut butter when I was supposed to be listening to white or wheat bread, right?
Right.
And I screwed up my own rhythm. And and but I just found it interesting how it all sort of tied together. And so I just kind of wanted to chat with you today is one of my besties here, um, about what was kind of going on and how it impacts, I think, all of us. And you're a coach, and sometimes it's easy to go behind ourselves,
Hmm.
you know, and in the work that we're trying to do and in trying to impact other people in a meaningful way, it's it's vulnerable to come from behind ourselves. And so
Yeah.
I was a hot mess, it's like I was a hot mess today. I was a freaking hot mess today. I didn't know my own answers. I'm struggling with these types of things. It's okay. It's okay. It's
I
okay.
think sometimes when we are in coaching or leadership roles,
Mhm,
it is very vulnerable to say, I don't know my own answers. And
mhm,
sometimes we think we should have all the answers because we can help other people. And it is easier to help other people sometimes navigate theirs because there's not that emotional investment that we
mhm,
have to the same level that we have it within ourselves. But one of the things that I tell myself before I give any speech or any in sobriety in AA we do open talks. And you're very vulnerable. Like you're standing there in front of everybody, but the strangers, just sharing your deepest, darkest, so that you can share the experience, strength, and hope of how your life got better. Um, and it was recommended to me years ago to take a deep breath and say, allow me to just connect to one person, just one person in that room. Allow me to have a connection to just one. And I use that now when I'm having meetings with my teams and having any group of people is allow me to connect to just one person. And would be challenging if you're doing a recording and putting it out there into the ether, but when you're in a room or a group, I look for the head nodder. I'll scan the room and I look for the one person that's doing this. And then I know I've connected to one person and everybody else kind of drowns out.
yeah.
Because all I need to do to know that I am making a difference is connect to one person.
Mhm.
So, as one of your friends, and I know the sensitive times, the vulnerable times that you put out yourself out there, that maybe you got some feedback that was through somebody else's baggage and their own limiting beliefs of themselves. Can you imagine your head nodder? Can
Oh,
you
for sure.
imagine the one person that's sitting there listening to your content saying, I needed to hear that today? Because I know you have them. I'm one of them. So many people. You have more head nodders than head shakers. So, but that kind of goes along to listening. If you're listening to somebody else's drum, finding out if their drum or their rhythm is truly yours. Is there a place for it to blend? Because it might not blend. Peanut butter and white bread might not blend together.
Yeah.
So knowing that that is their baggage, their stuff that they have to work through. Um, and it's not all yours. You don't, it's what you said, it's about being in balance. I don't think it's, I have to be one or the other.
Mm,
And I think sometimes it's understanding that if I do pick up that rhythm and I take that and try to incorporate it into my own, it's not going to blend well.
yeah.
And it's okay to not listen.
Yeah.
And it's okay to not blend everybody's rhythm in.
And I think here's what I also felt is sitting in that circle was that I could sit and appreciate the rhythm of the other, and I didn't have to make it my own. I could just appreciate, right? I could appreciate the difference. I could appreciate the sound. I could appreciate, you know, and but I didn't have to make it my own. And that I also needed both to make the song. I mean, I needed both. We needed both parts. And so I think that, what I wanted just to kind of share today was just if you are if anyone is sitting there feeling like I'm always listening to other people. I don't know my own answers. I don't feel empowered. I don't um I don't trust myself. I don't know myself. My God, I don't know myself. How about that one? I don't know myself. That actually hit me. I was like, how there were moments, not I mean, not the whole thing. I mean, I certainly have done a tremendous amount of work, but there were moments where I was like, how the hell do you not know that answer to that question? And you know what? At the end of the day, it's okay. Maybe I didn't know the answer to that question in that moment, right? Doesn't maybe the answer to that question changed from the last time I thought I knew the right answer. Who knows? But it's okay if we don't know the answer. It's okay. I guess asking ourselves the question is what's important. Being aware that we don't know the answer is kind of the cool part, right? Because now all of a sudden there's
Mhm.
this awareness of like, huh, well, now what do I think? What do I want? And then the awareness of where am I going to get the answer? Am I going to get it from the other drummer or am I going to go within?
Mhm.
And am I going to listen to me? That was just a it was just a really powerful, it was a powerful lesson. And so I just thought, "Well, my God, I cannot be the only person in the world who sits here going, 'What the hell's wrong with you?'" Like, what is wrong with you? What's going on? Why are you, sitting here feeling lost? And the truth is we're not. We're
No,
not
we're
lost.
not.
We're not. We're not. And if we just slow down enough, we'd realize we're not lost. We're right here, right now. All is well in this moment. Take a breath, pick up our drum, put our hand on our heart, and ask ourselves, what do you want me to know? And so yeah, mine said, um, to not consider the thoughts, opinions, and limitations of others as I discover what is for me. So I guess for anyone that may be listening to this that might be one of those people, suck it up, buttercup.
Ah,
Because that's what it is. This is me. This is what you get. And I'm not stopping. No, there you go.
you're funny. Um, what I've been thinking a lot, because I have that feeling of being lost or what am I creating or what is my next chapter? Where am I moving to? And our, unconscious mind talks to us in symbols and in pictures. So I always picture my unconscious mind as like this big, huge filing cabinet. Like, do you remember Bruce Almighty,
Yeah.
the movie where
Loved it.
he's in like the heaven area or whatever, and he either pushed or he pulled. I think he pulled the filing cabinet drawer, and it just like pushed him back, and it was like, and every prayer and everything came out. Well, that's how I picture my unconscious mind is pulling out this drawer, and there's just like boundless files. So that's how my unconscious mind tells me that my unconscious mind's filing system is. It's just all of these just drawers in this cabinet. So when I go to the file that is where am I at right now or where am I going and I feel lost,
Mhm.
it's only because there's no papers in that file yet.
Mm.
So I can go to past experiences and I can pull out this file and it's big and I can have experiences to pull from. So I feel rooted in I've done this before.
Mhm.
But when you're creating something new and you're asked these uncomfortable questions, our mind freezes and because we don't have a resource in that file yet to pull from.
Yeah.
Okay? Because we're building that. So our unconscious mind doesn't have a picture to show us other than a blank slate, right? So it's not that we're lost. It's not that we don't know where we're going. It's we have to just put those papers in that file. And that's where the creation comes from. And then, but the fear and going to, it's just another metaphor of the drumming circle, going to the fear or the limiting beliefs or the self-doubts of other people's files, like we can't pull from theirs and put into ours because then we're not building our own experiences,
Yeah,
you know?
well,
So same thing,
sure.
just different.
Yeah, well, and it's also, we all have this damn reptilian brain, right? That is absolutely hardwired to protect
Yeah.
and to preserve and to keep us safe from harm. And so whether it's emotional harm or physical harm, and so whether it says, oh, whether my reptilian brain sees something that you're doing and says, oh, danger, 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 judgment, and says, Heather, are you sure? Are you sure you want to do that? Or whether it's my reptilian brain that says to me when I want to do something, ooh, that's risky. People might think you're weird. People might
I
think,
got bangs yesterday.
"Got
That's a risk.
bangs." I said, what did I say to you when you said, "Should I get my bangs cut?" What did I say?
That's risky.
I said, "It's a commitment." I said,
It's
"It's
a
not quite."
commitment.
I said, "It's not quite a face tattoo, but it's a commitment."
Uh-huh.
Right? And you did it, and look at how beautiful you are. You took the risk and you did it, and good for you, right? But the
And I
idea.
have no filing cabinet. I have no memory of what I looked like in bangs, like all these metaphors. I sat in the salon chair and I asked my hair guy, and he was like, "It's a risk." And I'm like, "That's not the right answer. I need a
That's
yes
the
or
right answer.
no. I'm
No.
looking for you for direction. It's a risk."
I want a
So then
sure
I
thing.
turned my chair and I asked the stylist to the side, "Nafreem, what do you think? Should I get bangs?" He says, "I don't like bangs." Right away, I went into self-doubt.
Oh, you were listening
Right
to the other
away.
drummer.
Right away, I went, well, I have a picture of AI of what I could look like. Like, do I really want them? But his really quick off the cuff, yeah, I don't like bangs. All of a sudden it changed my 6 months of thinking, do I want bangs?
Yep,
Because he said I don't like them. I
yep.
see this man 4 times a year and I just figured out how to say his name yesterday. But
You
yet
did
him
well, 6
saying
months
I
of what
don't
you
like
thought you wanted, yeah.
his saying I don't like bangs made me instantly feel small.
Yeah.
And then I looked back to my stylist who I trust and he's like, I don't know, it's a risk.
Ugh.
And now I'm in fear, I'm in self-doubt, I'm in panic. I'm like, what should I do? What should I do? My stylist grabbed the scissors and cut. And I went, okay, we're getting bangs. He's like, you said you wanted them. So that was the
Pushed you
push,
for the fear.
right? Because I was listening to everybody's opinions. I'm
Okay,
listening to everybody's drum.
okay, yeah, that's exactly what happened. Let me ask you, what do you think you would have done had he not taken matters into his own hands, literally, and cut your face? What
I
do you think
mean,
you
I
would
was
have said?
I was sitting in doubt and I was trying to convince myself that this was actually what I wanted to try. And I actually sat there and reminded myself, yes, it's a commitment. It's also hat season. I could wear a hat, I could wear a headband. So I'm getting resourceful
Mm,
of, okay, if I try this and I'm vulnerable enough to make this commitment and it doesn't work, what resources do I have to make the best out of it until something else happens or my hair grows, right? I
That's a
could wear a hat, I could wear a headband, I could wear little pins, right?
right.
Maybe I'll just go get these cutesy little pins. Like I started to get resourceful of what happens if this doesn't go as planned.
Okay, so you went to your own drum,
Mm-hmm.
went inside, and you found your own drum.
Yes.
Okay. Do
Yeah.
we love this idea of the drum?
Yes.
Of isn't this like it was such a valuable learning. I mean, it was worth the ticket, it was worth the plane ride, it was worth the 3 days, it was worth all of that to sit in that drum circle, to hear those words and to put it in a different context when the next day I sat there in self-doubt and frustration. Um, it was worth all of it to be able to say, okay, now I have this understanding and learning of the drums and just that that's their beat, not my beat, and that I need to that this idea of, and also an awareness that for most of my life, truly for most of my life, and I know I'm not alone. I know I am not alone. I'm in the majority of people.
Mm-hmm.
For most of my life, I worried more about your needs than my needs. At the
Have you
world,
ever heard other people's opinions of me are not my business?
I say it all the time.
Mm-hmm.
I say it all the
Yep.
time.
It looks good on
It
paper.
looks great. I say it
It
all
looks good
the time.
on
I've told
paper,
my
but it's
daughter,
hard. Mhm.
my God, I've told my daughter that since she was really young. Other people's opinion of you is none of your business because I want her to believe that. You know why I want her to believe that? I want her to believe that so she doesn't struggle the way her mother did. I want her to believe that. I want people to believe that. I want people to believe that. And I have battled to not believe that.
So I wanna tie this up with a pretty little bow, and I
I
wanna
am,
ask
sister.
you, put your hands on your heart because you've been in a state since this conference that you were at, and we've had multiple conversations. You're saying the right things.
Mhm.
You're saying all that you would tell other people. What are you going to do today? What are you going to do
Mhm.
to get out of where you're at, to
I
move through it?
Yeah, no, I'd be honest with you. I think I think I'm out. I'm off the
Okay,
map from this morning. I'm way off the
okay.
map. Yeah, no, I'm out. I think in terms of finding like ultimately the big answers, I think that's a work in progress. I think we're all a work in progress, right? That's a discovery that we're all on. But in terms of like my being a Krabby Patty, I'm over that. That's over. That's better.
What are you gonna do to stop listening to
Putting
what
this
is
out there.
something you
Here's the
can
thing,
do?
putting this out there, putting this, even having this conversation. If the world sees this conversation, I would have done it
Okay,
because putting this out there is a raw, vulnerable conversation. If the world sees this, I would have done it.
okay,
So there you go.
okay.
And if they didn't, A, they won't know. And B, right? And B, maybe tomorrow. Maybe they'll see it tomorrow. Maybe we'll see. But the idea is just to share that wherever we are, and also that it's easy. It's funny when you said to me this morning, so you're human. And you said, I never thought, you said, whatever you said, it was super funny. Um, but to know that we're all human. And no matter what we think about another person and their ability to like navigate the world, everybody is human.
Yeah.
Needs grace, right? And needs kindness and compassion and love. And that everybody struggles with the same shit. And that wherever we are is perfect. That
Beautiful.
Hey friend, thanks for taking the time with me today.
Of course. I love our chats.
I know, I know. We don't record all of them. Some of them really are not made for, you know, general audience. But this one could maybe be shared. So
Maybe.
we'll
Mhm.
see. We'll see.
All right.
Well, listen. Your bangs are too cute to stay inside today. Go out and show the world those new bangs.
Okay.
Don't keep them to yourself. Yeah. All right. I love you, sis.
I love you.
Bye.
Bye.